Hi there. Welcome to Tech Talk Weekly. I'm Bob from Creation Station. This is our weekly show where we give you 3 or 4, in this case, like a dozen very cool stories. We'll try not to get too angry today about certain ones. But if there's a story you want us to cover, reach out. Creation Station at broward.org, or just hit the like and subscribe and leave it in the comments for us. Today, I have Sir Hadi from the studio. How are you doing, sir?
Oh, really good today. Thank you.
So tell everybody what the studio is, because we want to feature all these creation stations.
Yep. So, the studio is a unique version of the Creation Station in the fact that we cater to teens ages 13 to 19, and we help them out with all sorts of things like content creation, music, um, filming, if they need help with their homework
Yeah.
on the computers, and even if they want to facilitate their art needs. We
Those
have,
stained glass things that you guys did were amazing.
yeah, that's
Those were
just a fraction.
yeah, I know. That was just insane stuff. And if you're in the South Florida area, you need to stop by and check this place out. If you're a teen, if you're an adult, sorry, too bad. Drop your kid off for it. But yeah, no little kids, no adults, no teachers. How do you make sure that the place doesn't burn down and it's all good to go?
Yep.
Speaking of, man, that was like an almost instinctively good segue there. We don't know that it burned, I guess, is the true thing. So we have an ongoing space story that we're going to cover first. Intuitive Machines landed a new rover / lander on the moon today, earlier. And we don't know. So the very brief nutshell is it landed because we know the telemetry. We know it hit the moon. It landed. Is it in good shape still? Is it able to be used? Or what's happening with it? We don't know. At 4:00 Eastern, they're supposed to go live with a press conference. Unfortunately, we're recording right now. So maybe we'll record it later on as a bonus comment or something that goes on. And if you're saying, wait a minute, do I remember you guys talking about this before? Yes, we did last year, because they landed a probe on the moon that landed and then tipped over at like a 45-degree angle, and so couldn't really get its communications working well and the solar panels working well. It did take some shots. So this is the second time they've landed, second time they've had a problem with the post-landing period. What do you think about this, Hadi?
Well,
How excited are you for a third private company to be landing on the moon?
Yes and no. I mean, I do like the fact that we do have like people who are interested in like landing on the moon, and at the same time, it's one of those things where, like, I feel like the too many cooks situation. And if I remember correctly, there was like dozens of missions planned already, not just for like U.S. base sources, but also European and Chinese, if I remember correctly.
And India.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. No, this is one of those things where we have got lots of different private companies and countries operating in the same space and doing different things and coordinating things. That's one of the Artemis missions is supposed to be happening next year, is to start the telephone company up there. It's just satellite relays,
Yeah.
but you need this because once you get past like 4 people on a line, if you've ever done a party line conversation type things, it just gets too messy and you need individual point to point. So definitely a thing to do. Now, we've got a bad space story because I cannot find the right terms that I can get away with on this podcast to use, but do not believe the lies that Elon Musk tells you about space. I am at the point where I am not sure I will believe what he says about his own company anymore, because this is the second story I've had to cover with him lying about what's happening on the International Space Station. So there are 2 Starliner astronauts. We covered this all summer long, all fall, 3 or 4 different episodes talking about the extensive planning that went into. And just 2 weeks ago, we talked about this story about how they would have come home earlier, but SpaceX blew up a rocket. And so they didn't have a rocket to go get them with. And so in this case, we are dealing with this again to say, no, this is not a thing. This is something that goes on. This is a political story. And thankfully, all the astronauts, both American and Russian, up on the space station, treated it exactly as that. We are doing a job up there, is what they said. This is a political thing happening, not a science thing, not a space thing. Sorry, rant over.
Yeah. And
Go
I was
on.
about to say, Butch Wilmore also said, like, we don't feel abandoned. We don't feel stuck.
Yeah.
We don't feel stranded. You know, if you help us change the rhetoric and help us change the narrative, let's change to prepare it and be committed. That's what you've been hearing, and that's what we prefer. That's his own words.
And it is just one of those things that is like, why can't we just let the scientists do the work?
Mm-hmm.
Don't turn it into some political stupidity like this. Do the work, let the scientists do it, work hard, get your stuff done, and it will. But we do have another cool space story to make up for this. And that is the amazing Blue Ghost. So Firefly is another company, private space company that landed on the moon earlier this week. And they've got some amazing, I'm going to try and play this video and see if it'll work for us here.
I saw the video earlier. It's really amazing quality. And then we have Guy with Car.
You play it and then it stops again. You know, who cares? We're not going to watch their ads. I've got video, though. I've got other things. So here's the NASA lander there. You can see that very tiny little white dot in the middle of that box there. That is the lander on the moon, operating, working, doing it, all of the cool stuff. It is an amazing accomplishment. So I'm getting one more image. Oh, stop that. There we go. Here is the actual footage from the rover as it landed. This is a newer one that just got processed. Mm-hmm. So very cool things happening on the moon. Lots of this stuff going on. And as we mentioned earlier, this is why we need to get that communications relay fixed and all set up there and be able to move and get ready for all of these other companies. As you mentioned, 7, 8 things going up in the next 2 years. So
also, I think
it's a lot of cool stuff. Go.
It's definitely important that we need to have like a communications relay on the moon, especially if we start sending out probes, like even like with Voyager, like, you know, it's kind of like with the best analogy I could think of is like the string on the, you know, can with the string. We just need more string to have it go along. Yep.
And we do have orbiters around the moon right now. Both the US and China have different orbiters that are going around. Some of these pictures are from the Chinese orbiters that they're releasing out to the public because this is so momentous that all these things are happening. So it's really good news to see this stuff. One very good new space story today and a couple others that are questionable, but hey, we'll take the good with the bad.
Yeah.
Now, we're going to stop with our space stories. Remember, you can leave a comment on our Spotify or email us if you've got specifics you want us to cover about space, or say, wait, I'm tired of space. Let me know. But we have something else to celebrate because they found an animal, a rabbit, that has been missing for 120 years. First, you saw this story, Hadi. Tell me what your takeaway is first before I give you my opinion on this one.
Well, my first thought about it was it's amazing that like one they could even find like an animal like that. And then when I finally was like, when I looked at the article and then looked at the location, I'm like, yeah, that's a very remote location.
Oh, this is in Mexico, super remote, mountains, forests. Yeah, it's hard. But I thought it was interesting because it's the scientists, primarily Western scientists, that are going into Mexico and saying, well, this rabbit can't exist because we don't have pictures of it. And the natives are like, that rabbit definitely exists. We eat it for dinner.
Yeah,
And they're
and I
like,
like, yeah,
wait, no.
no, I like how some of the hunters, like in 1998, were like, "Oh yeah, here's some skins."
Yeah. Yeah. Like, here you go. We do this all the time. It just, and scientific evidence and all that, which is a very good thing. We just talked about it. You got to have proof. You've got to walk through it. So they did a 5-year study with these camera traps to be able to take pictures that they trigger the photo on when something moves. And it took 5 years, but they do now have a handful of pictures of these rabbits. And now they can try and really do the scientific work of how do they breed, where do they breed, all those kinds of details. It's just craziness.
I mean, also when you think about it, like rabbits are not exactly like a predator species; they're more of a
Yeah,
prey. So part of that survival is to like not get caught.
exactly.
Yeah.
And if you can avoid the I think it's jaguars and coyotes that are in that area of Mexico. Um, yeah, hopefully, and probably dogs and cats and everything else. No matter how remote, we've messed up a lot of stuff
I
with
mean,
our
they're
pet.
at the near bottom of the food chain.
Yeah, they are. They're definitely that. And one of the other things that's disappeared, but this is not coming back, is birds. Now, this particular bird, and the reason I thought this was an interesting one to talk about was this was found in Antarctica because it existed so long ago. It's back when Antarctica was way up near the equator and in a much more tropical area of the planet. And as the continental drift and
Drift, yeah.
shift around, these birds, proto birds, actually, I mean, these are like very, very early in the evolution of birds, evolving at the same time as dinosaurs. These are more of feathered dinosaurs than birds in a way. And it just moves on up that way. So I was like, cool. This is just a fun little interesting story. And of course, all the links are in the show notes for you. So you can go check out these pictures and go check out that video from earlier and see exactly where and what it is. But this picture is what I wanted to highlight. You see those two bones, those two little pieces of bone there.
Yeah, I see them right there.
That's all we've got. But they were able to, okay, we know enough about this type of creature and we know how to rebuild these things. So we know effectively what the rest of the animal looked like from these birds because we've messed it up before. Iguanodon, if anybody who's into dinosaurs, go look up iguanodons.
You know,
Yeah.
yeah, I was about to say, like, I know one of the reasons why it's so hard to find these fossils is because bird, the bones of birds are just so fragile and they just
Yeah.
crumble. And
Yep.
it's even more, it's, I would say it's almost like a near miracle to find an intact skeleton.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Yeah. That's, that famous one that was found in China
Yeah.
because that's why it's famous. It was so rare
Mhm.
to even be able to capture feathers and all the other stuff like that. Yeah. No. Another rare animal is a unicorn.
Oh, yeah.
We didn't actually recover unicorns, but you know what a narwhal is. If you don't, a narwhal is a type of whale, porpoises, that has one extra long tooth. They've evolved this one tooth that sticks out of the front of their mouth and extends in this curled thing that looks exactly like a unicorn horn because that's where part of the legends grew from. And up until now, and again, this is why you need to go see the show notes because there's a cool video here of watching these narwhals use their tusks because we didn't really know for certain what they used them for. What did you think of their explanation there, Hadi?
Um, if I remember correctly, they were talking about like they thought it was originally for like mating purposes,
Mm-hmm.
but now we found out it's even more stuff, like
Oh,
including hunting and play.
yeah, that was the cool thing. I mean, they actually in the amount of footage that they were able to gather by flying some drones over so they wouldn't disturb them. This is one of the reasons when we go out in boats to try and find this stuff, the sound and other issues with boats in their area cause them to either disappear, go away, or act in a different way. And because of the drones floating up high, fairly discreet, um, they found 17 different distinct behaviors that they could track of them using the horn in all these different ways. And like you said, it's not just mating. It was all hunting or just a playtime. Just they actually do fencing
I
with
was
their
about to say
horns
play swords.
just because they can. I mean, it might be a part of a mating thing also, kind of like how other animals do play fighting before they get to the real fighting as they get older and do those kinds of things, particularly males. Because males are idiots sometimes. But yeah, I mean, one of these things was just being able to show these activities and film them live, quote unquote, live like that, to see exactly what's going on. I was so happy with this one. This is a make me smile kind of thing. This is yeah, you know what? The researchers are out there finding cool new things all the time.
Yeah, and like
Rabbits,
it's
yeah,
especially animals we've observed. I mean, like it's one of those things where I think was it we still don't know too much about this, like sea animals,
yeah.
and we've
It's a
barely
big
mapped the
planet.
sea.
There's a lot of ocean there to go explore. And
Yeah, and also for anyone who goes, who the Florida element in the story was
oh yeah, thank you, thank you,
yep,
thank you, thank you. Yeah,
was
yeah.
FAU.
So Florida Atlantic University, and that's a local university down here in South Florida, and they're the ones who are doing this up in the Arctic. So anyone who's out there doing research and doing your things, pay attention because your local college, your local university may be doing a lot more than you thought. And they're taking that funding and doing some very cool stuff with it.
Yeah, who would have thought Florida and an Arctic in the
Yeah.
same sentence?
Yeah, not quite that. One final story today on why we don't have dinosaurs. So the brief nutshell thing is we don't have dinosaurs because we have birds. And birds are effectively dinosaurs. They're just the far end of the evolutionary tree for dinosaurs. And as they grew up, as dinosaurs evolved and grew into these various different types of forms, some of them just stopped evolving. Alligators, crocodiles, they've been around for a long time. They evolved into that form. They fit their niche, and they keep on going. And they didn't need to keep evolving. Dinosaurs needed to keep evolving because this asteroid hit, and the ones that could get away and deal and modify their behaviors because of this new atmospheric conditions that were happening and all these other things turned out to be the very small winged dinosaurs, which then evolved into what we now have as birds. And so there's nothing left for them to evolve from to get new dinosaurs. Because things don't de-evolve. Well, okay, we did a story on that like 3 years ago, that there was something they found that de-evolved. We're not getting into that kind of stuff. Creatures normally don't. They just, once they evolve into fitting a niche, that's great. And it's, if you are adaptive, you keep going. And if you're not adaptive, you can't keep going. Totally very cool things.
It's just one of those. I want to say it's like an evolutionary dead end with like some forms, and
Yeah.
that's how it is.
Yeah. I mean, and it's, as that article points out, it's what their diet was, where they lived on the planet, all these things. They just happened to get lucky, be in the right place at the right time with just the right kind of traits that allowed them to keep growing and moving and evolving into these thousands of different bird species that we now have today.
Yeah. And then it's once again goes back to that one bird.
Yeah. Just craziness. Just crazy how these things all tie back together all these times. Thank you, Sir Hadi, for being here today. Aren't these? We had some good stories. We had some good, nice, fun stories today. I like this one. This is definitely a smile type of show.
The fun
Yeah.
was actually there and
Yeah.
outweighed the not so fun.
Yeah, definitely on this one. If there's a story you want us to cover, as always, reach out, creationstation@broward.org. Let us know. Is there a story that you find this weekend? Shoot it to us and we'll try and put it on the show next week.
All right.
Go hit like and subscribe, everybody. We'll see you next week. Bye.
Take care.